And we're recording.
All right. Okay, so there are a large plethora of things that you can do in Google Classroom. And if you are just getting started with Google Classroom, I completely understand coming in and feeling slightly overwhelmed and being like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with all this? So as you can see, I've kind of divided the levels of expertise in Google Classroom. Basic is just going to be creating assignments, getting them out there, collecting all of the work. Each one of these things are hyperlinked. So if you don't want to rewatch the entire webinar, you can always go back and just click on the topic, and it will take you to either a video or the Google support for that topic. So you'll be able to find exactly what it is that you're looking for. So we'll share the slides along with the link when we're done today. Next level would be scheduling assignments. So this is always something I enjoyed when I was teaching. If I was going to go out of town or had a sub for the day because I was training, I could post assignments to my Google Classroom and not have to worry about it while I was training because they would do it kind of on their own. Quiz creation, originality reports, and rubrics are new additions, and they are super awesome. If you haven't used them, now is the time to start, especially if you're an English teacher. Originality reports are amazing. Expert level, posting to multiple classes, turning on Guardian summaries, and we're going to talk about why those are really important, and then being able to export your grades from Google Classroom to a CSV, and then upload that CSV into Skyward for each assignment, which is a fun tool. Okay, so I'm actually going to do most of this from Google Classroom so that you guys can see kind of firsthand what's happening as opposed to screenshots. So if you want to do this with me, cool. If not, and you just want to watch me do it, like I said, you'll have the recording. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all of my Google Classrooms here. I'm going to pick just my PD example one so that I'm not freaking out students or the rest of my staff. So when you open your Google Classroom, you will see your stream, classwork, people, and then grades. So if you would like to just post an assignment, we're just going to come in and I want to give my kids work to do. You're going to click on classwork and then the create button. So it gives you this menu: assignment, quiz, question, material, reuse. So just basic assignment. I'm going to click assignment. I'm going to give it a title. So test assignment. And then instructions, refer to reading from last night and answer the questions on the doc. So you have two options here. You can add something that you've already created from your Google Drive, from YouTube, upload a file from your computer or a link. Or if you click on the create button, it gives you the option to create any new Google tool and attach it directly to this assignment post. So I'm just going to hit doc. It creates my doc, and then after it creates it, opens it in a new window so I can start typing. So I'm just going to put one, did you enjoy the reading? Okay. Ooh, ignore my typing. So when I go back, once my document is created, I have a couple of options here. So if I just click on students can view file, that means that all they're going to be able to do is look at it. They're going to have to create their own document to answer those questions. If I click my little caret, I can make it where students can edit the file directly. So this is if I've got a collaborative document going and I want everybody in the classroom to work on the doc all at once, or if I'm assigning it to certain students as part of group work and I want the entire group to work on it, I can do that. Or I can make a copy for each student. So this is literally like having a copy in your classroom and passing a copy out to each student. They're going to get one with their name on it in their Google Drive, and then they can turn it into you. So here, I can decide if I want to just post it to this class Or if I teach multiple classes of the same subject, I can click on this caret and say, okay, I'd also like to assign it to my 1920 digital leadership team and my impact team. Again, you can pick one or none. If you pick multiple classes, it has to go to all of the students. But if I just have it for one class, then I can click on my student caret and I can decide if I want to assign it to all of my students or if I would like to digitally differentiate and assign it to just one of my students. Now, obviously, this class only has 2, but you will have classes with more students. So if I know that I gave Ms. Shambrika a video to watch, but I gave Mr. David an article to read, then I'm going to send him the one that says refer to the reading from last night. And then I would create another assignment just for Shambrika that says refer to the video from last night. The students in the classroom don't know that the other students are getting different work. They also can't tell who is getting what assignment or how many people turned it in or didn't turn it in. What they receive on their end is only their work. So you can digitally differentiate without breaking any FERPA, HIPAA, COPA violations. Everybody knows just what they have. So I'm going to leave my points at 100. You can leave it ungraded or you can set it to whatever you want it to be. My due date, you can set it a week from now, 3 weeks from now, whatever you want to do. So let's say I want to, if I was in class, I know that I'm going to be gone on April 15th. So I'm assigning a reading on the 14th. So I want them to turn that in and I'm going to put it under examples. Topics are just a way to kind of organize all of your things. You can do it by unit, you can do it by chapter, you can do it by reading, whatever you want to do, put that in your topic. And then here, if it was going to be some type of creative response, I would go in and create a rubric, reuse a rubric, or import one from Sheets. So if I hit create rubric, it literally brings up a rubric creation. So I can go in and say presentation, and I can make it 1 point. I can go in and add my title, and then I can see, yes, stop yelling at me, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if I have it leveled, here's my presentation. They get 1 point for a low presentation, 4 points for a high presentation. And then I can go in and put visual aid and go from there. So you can see how quickly you can create a rubric. And once it's done, you can reuse your previous rubrics. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that because I don't want to add a rubric to this. Yes, we're going to discard. Okay, and then if I want to turn on originality reports. So let's say I want to know their opinion on a particular poem or short story that we're reading, and I ask for their opinion, or tell me about the allegories within this topic. I want to know whether or not they're typing in their words as opposed to copying and pasting. So I would go ahead and turn on the originality report buttons. If you go to learn more, it gives you literally everything you would ever want to know about the topic on the Google Help website. But the students can run them, you can run them, and then you can see how much of it is plagiarized or not. So this caret up here, let's say I've got my assignment completely ready. I'm going to click on this caret. So I can go ahead and assign it immediately. I can click the schedule button and schedule it for April 14th at 9:08 because I want it for my second period class. So now it's going to come up in this gray, meaning it's scheduled for, and I can see, oh, look, I made a mistake. It says 9:08 p.m. So if I go back, and it's okay, if you make a mistake, you just go back, you hit edit, and then I want it to schedule for 9:08 a.m. And then I just hit reschedule, and boom, there it is, scheduled for 9:08 a.m. So that's pretty much how assigning topic works. You cannot see who views the assignment until they start working. Once they've created their work, you can tell what's happening, but just to see if they've looked at the assignment, that's not possible. Okay, so let's say I want to create a quiz, and this is where Google Classroom has made some real strides. So I can go in and I'm going to do the same type of thing. I'm going to type in my title, I'm going to type in my instructions, and then because I clicked quiz, it automatically brought up a Google form for me to edit. So if I click on that, I can go in and I can fill out all of the questions on the Google form. So we're going to do name for sure, and then we're going to do period so I can sort more easily, and then what day is today? Okay, so that's an easy question, and you can see very quickly they brought up, and I want to make it multiple choice. Okay, they brought up all of the days of the week. So if I start typing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, okay, these are my answers. I'm going to add Wednesday in there since that's what today is. And then to truly make this a quiz, I'm going to go to my answer key. I'm going to click on the correct answer of Wednesday, and I'm going to assign it points. Okay, so let's say I have 10 questions. They're 5 points apiece. So a 50 out of a 50 is 100. Okay, so now I'm done. So now you can see I've gone ahead and marked Wednesday as the correct answer because I've got this green check there, and I can see that it's worth 5 points. We're going to change this to short answer. Okay, so if you want it to grade for you, you are kind of limited in your choice options. You can do multiple choice, so you can set a correct answer. You can do checkboxes, or you can do a grid. If you request short answer or paragraph, the short answer needs to be 1 or 2 words that you can easily data validate. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to grade those questions for you. So it'll grade the multiple choice questions and then send it to you for manual review. But if we're trying to get things done, you know, with ease and make machines do all of the work, then I need to make sure that all of my answers are going to be easily picked so we can move on. So what month is it? Multiple choice, and then January, February. So you get the gist. Let me add March and April. So again, I can pick the correct answer. Same process, April. Now, adding answer feedback. If I go in and say, all right, you got the correct answer or incorrect answer. So for correct answers, I can just put in the feedback, good job. So for incorrect answers, if I wanted to, I can directly link them to something to reteach the material in a file or an assignment that they've done, or I can create a video. So, you know, if I was doing this not on months, but on business cycles, maybe I show them a video from ACDC Econ of what business cycles look like, and then they have the correct information. So we're going to save that. So now I can see my feedback for correct answers is good job. I've marked April as my correct answer, and then I've got 5 points, and I'm done. Okay, so let's change the title of this to date quiz, and you'll see it update in Google Classroom as well. So now I go back to Google Classroom. I'm going to type in my date quiz. Instructions are optional. Now, grade importing. Because I've got multiple choice questions, Google Classroom will take the grades automatically from the form and put the grades into Classroom for me. So we're going to leave grade importing on. If I was at school, I would do locked mode on Chromebooks, meaning if it's a district monitored device, they would only be able to open this tab. Because we are distance learning, you don't want to do that. Only students with monitored devices would be able to do it. So those children that are using their phones or any other home personal laptop wouldn't be able to do it. And B, it's going to limit it to people just in GISD. So if you've got kids that are trying to take it under their personal account, it won't let them do that either. So I'm going to set my due date for tomorrow, and my topic, we'll just leave it under examples. And then again, I'm going to hit assign. So now you can see if I go to the stream, and this is kind of like where all the announcements pop up, I've posted a new assignment, my date quiz. Okay, so that's pretty much creation of assignments and quizzes. Questions are going to be immediate questions that you ask that the students can respond to individually. So that would be good for a bell ringer or just a check or brain break. And then material is where you would post like your syllabus or resources or things that aren't necessarily tied to an assignment. If I hit reuse post, that's going to allow me to pull either announcements from this same class or from another class. So if I know that I posted something in my other English class and I think, wow, this class would really benefit from that, it would pull up all of my classes and I'd be able to select the class and post that I wanted to and then post it in this class. So that's classwork. Moving on to people. So here you can see that I'm the only teacher. To add another teacher, you literally just click the plus sign, and then I can invite whoever I want. And here you can see I've pulled up Gina. I just started typing her email address. So I click on it and notice it says teachers can do everything I can except delete the class. So if they want to invite guardians or kids or whatever, they can post announcements, assignments, they can do it all. So I'm going to click invite. And then I can see that she's been invited, but hasn't accepted the invitation yet. Before she accepts it, I can go in and remove it, or I can send her an email and say, hey, you haven't really accepted my class yet. Okay, students, I can invite them manually, or I can just give them the code. If you're using district-created classrooms, those students are already in the classroom for you because of the Skyward Sync, so you don't have to worry about inviting them. You can invite their guardians. So you can do this by hand, typing in all of their email addresses, or you can have the students invite the guardians to let them be part of the class so they can see announcements and everything else. Okay. You can see I clicked on a student's individual name. So it's going to show me all of their assignments. So if I want to know all of David's missing work, I'm just going to on the missing filter, and now I can see here are these assignments that he didn't, quote unquote, turn in. You can do this for every student. And then it's a lot faster to have conversations with them like, hey, I can see that this isn't right. Or you can quickly see their turned in work if they have any work turned in. So I'm going to go back to my people tab. Great. Now, grades. Grades literally looks like a grade book. It creates a spreadsheet of the students and then all of their grades. So I can go into, let's say I want the grades for my January 15th assignment. I can go in and I can create either all of my grades in a Google Sheet, all of my grades in a CSV, or just this assignment as a CSV. So if you're also keeping track of your grades in Google Sheets, or you want to have the CSV to upload into Skyward, you can do that way. Some people prefer to hand transfer them, but it's a lot easier if it's on a spreadsheet with everything, so you can go through and kind of 10 key it faster. Boom. So let's look at our settings within Google Classroom. Here I can change my name. So if I wanted to go in, for the district, they're named whatever course number they are in Skyward, you can go in and change it to A3, B3, whatever works for you. Your general settings, this is your class code. You can display it, you can reset it, or if you don't want people to be able to join after the fact, you can disable it. You can change it on the stream so that only you can post, students can post and comment, or students can only comment. So if you've got a class that doesn't necessarily need the posting capability, you can turn it off. Classwork on the stream, right now I have it as condensed notifications, so it just says, hey, Miss Wesley posted this. You can also have it show the attachments, but then it kind of gets clunky and takes up a lot more space. If there are deleted items, I can make it so that only I can see those. And then here are the Guardian summaries. You want to make sure this is toggled. So this is another new addition for Google Classroom. It is going to show you exactly what the child has done or not done. So here is the weekly summary. So it's got work that's missing, work that's upcoming, and then everything that they've done. which is really awesome because then your parents can see like, oh, well, it says you're missing this in Google Classroom and your teacher posted this, and I know that you have a test due next week. So you need to start studying today, okay? Grading is also a new feature within Google Classroom. If you want to, you can add grading categories. So if you know that in your classroom, quizzes are automatically 100%, and then you can do your grade calculation, and I'm going to have it weighted by category, and I want my percentage for quizzes to be 50% and classwork to be 25%. It's doing the math for me. Isn't that cute? Okay, and then tests, 25%. So let's say I'm taking daily quizzes, so I want that to be the majority of my weight, and then I've got this here. Okay, it tells me I've got nothing left, but then when I put things in to Google Classroom and I create the grading for them, it'll automatically do the weight categories for you, which is really cool. So we're going to save that setting. Okay. Let me look back and see what else I need to talk about so I cover it all.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Scheduling assignments we did. Oh, yay! Good.
Yay!
Yes, I can.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
So do you want me to just go through and ask you questions, or have they asked questions?
I cannot see the chat on my screen. Right now, I'm just making sure that I have covered everything that I wanted to cover. Okay. And it looks like the only thing I didn't do was grading and returning assignments. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll take questions.
Perfect, because I have the back channel open. So I'll read you the question.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is grading, and I'm going to go to a different class that has actually, quote unquote, turned in work. So this is my staff class. So for classwork, it's Spirit Week, and I asked them to submit their pictures of them dressed up. Okay. So you can see, here's my assignment. Share your best superhero pics for virtual Spirit Week. Here's my example. It's me dressed up as Batgirl or Batwoman. Okay. Now I can see that of my 105, 103 people have it assigned. They haven't done it. And 2 people have turned it in. So if I click on the turned in, I can see my 2 students, in this case teachers, that have turned it in. Okay. And I can see kind of little mini pictures of their work. So here I've got Mr. Menner, who turned in his Jedi picture, which looks like it's from Disney World or Disneyland. And then I've got Miss Barrera, who turned one in of the English team, the reading department at South, as the Incredibles. So I'm going to click on Menner's picture here. I can see that I've got a JPEG, and it's going to load. So if this was a document or slides or something that the student actually worked on, you could grade it within here. I can add comments. So let's say I know I'm going to keep typing in the same comment. Looks great. Okay. I can add that there, and now it's in my bank. So instead of typing it every time, I can just go in and I can copy it to my clipboard and then go back and add the comment to the picture for him. Okay, so that's a lot faster. And then it takes me back to grading. So here, I can see it's out of 100. I'm going to give him 100 because this picture is awesome, right? I've already left him a private comment. And now I've given him the grade, but it says not returned. And then over here, I can see he's got 100 out of 100, and that's my draft. So you have the option to go through, and you can see all of these that just say assigned, because I have it by last name. I can sort it by first name, or I can sort it by status, which is what I like to do, because then all my turned ins are at the top. So then if I click this arrow, it's going to take me immediately to Miss Barrera's picture of them as the Incredibles, which is hilarious. So I'm going to give her another 100. Again, I left her a comment earlier, and it changed to not return. So now if I click return, if I click on this arrow, I can just return hers, or I can return multiple submissions. So I'm going to return both hers and Mr. Menner's at the same time. Okay. And it's going to give me both students. It's going to tell me that right now it's a draft and these are their grades. I'm going to double check that. And then I'm going to say, yes, return the work. So now it's taken away the draft. So now those kids know, and they've got an assignment returned to them from me with a grade of 100. Okay, so now if I go back, I can see that 2 of them have been graded, 103 of them have been assigned, and 0 have been turned in. So I can also, if I had any that were turned in that needed to be graded, they would be up here. I can see the ones that are assigned, or I can look at the ones that I've already graded, and it says graded. So that's pretty much returning work. One thing you do need to remember is once a student turns work into you, even if you've created a copy for them, you temporarily have possession of that work. So until you return it, they can't really make any changes to it. Once you give it back to them, it becomes theirs again, can change and edit and do anything they want. Another thing under people, and I forgot to mention this earlier, there's a button down here that says you can email students. You cannot email students. Only teachers that have Google Classroom and also have Gmail accounts can email students. You do not have a Gmail account because we use Outlook. You cannot email students. If you want to email an entire class, you need to do it through Skyward or some type of messaging app. Okay, so Gina, I am ready for questions. So go ahead and ask them, and I will leave everything up to see if I need to show people.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. One of the first questions on our back channel is, how do we hide grades that students won't see them until we can release them?
On a quiz?
I don't know.
Or just in
that's
general?
all that they said.
Okay. So if it is a draft, you are the only one that can see the draft grades. Until you return it to the student, they don't know what their grade is. If it's on a quiz, then you would do that in settings. So if I don't want my students to see their responses immediately, for quizzes, I'm going to go to the settings. It's already a quiz. And then see how it's release grade. I don't want them to see it immediately. So I'm going to do later after manual review. Another thing you might not want them to do, which is a little less pressing now that everybody's at home, but that doesn't mean, you know, they're not trying it anyway. I never let my kids see the correct answers, and I never let them see which questions they missed. That's up to you. If you're doing kind of a reteach, you might want that, but I never let that happen.
Okay. The next one is, how do we see Google Form answers that relate to students? So that's a Sheets question, actually.
Yes. Okay. So here in the responses, obviously, since I haven't sent the quiz out, I have no responses, but I'm going to use the Sheets icon and create a spreadsheet. And then it's going to ask me if I want a new spreadsheet or an existing spreadsheet. Since this is a new quiz, I'm going to create a new spreadsheet. And then once it creates, see how it says waiting for responses here? If someone were to do that, I'd be able to see kind of all of the graphs with the answers, and then I could go through and look at individual responses. If you want to see all of the names of the students that have submitted it already, then you would open your spreadsheet and you could see, once they submit it, you'll see their timestamp and their email address, and then their score is going to be the first column, and then their name based on what you had them type in. So always make sure that you have a name column. I always divided mine by first name and last name because I had some, like, I think I had one year 3 Martins in the same class, and they don't ever put their last name. So I had first name as one question, last name as a second question, and then for period, I did a drop down so that A2 was always typed in the same way. Because if you type it in with a capital and another kid types it in with just a lowercase, or they just put second or a second, then when you try and sort it, it's going to be all discombobulated. So you need to make sure that you do a drop down for the period so that all of them match for when you sort it to get your grades later.
Okay, next one is, when you post an assignment as a question, do the students see all the responses? And that's a good question. I haven't used question in Classroom.
So I did a question, I think in this one, let's see. Nope. Okay, here. I missed it. So it pops up as a little question mark when you ask a question. So here, I just asked, how can I help? And you can see here are the student answers. So if they make a class comment, people can see those. If they respond directly to the answer, then you, the teacher, are the only one that can see them. Does that make sense? So you have the option to make a class comment, which I can hear. So you can see on my screen, Mr. Goheen did a comment. But then if I go to my answers, I can see that these 8 teachers posted the answer directly to the question. So if you want your students to be able to kind of chat within, ask them to make a comment. If you are the only one who wants to be able to see it, make sure they answer directly to the question.
Okay, so the next question is, if you have a video in Google Drive, when you add it, what's the difference between adding a video from Google Drive versus a file or a link?
Okay,
one more.
So it depends on the size of the video. If I know that I've got a larger video that I have just recorded and I give them the Drive link, Google has to process that video. So it's going to take a long time if the video is more than 2 or 3 minutes for it to be able to show up in your classroom and for your students to see it. So if it's a longer video, I would post just the link. If it's a YouTube video, I would definitely go in and attach it directly from the YouTube link, because then it creates a different embedding kind of image for the video. So that works better if it's a YouTube video. If it's a recorded video, like I said, link if it's really long. If it's just a short one, you can pull it straight from your Drive.
Yeah, my film teacher at Garland High School says right now with Google kind of being a little overloaded, I mean, everybody in the nation's using it, that our best bet is to upload our videos to YouTube. And then because YouTube and Google work well together, is to just upload it from YouTube.
Yes.
The next one, I think you answered this one, is if you assign each student, it does not show who has viewed it because it's separate files, but we can't view files. The next one is, once I've created an assignment for 5 classes and I want to correct something there, I don't find a way of correcting that existing assignment at the same time.
No. So they still have not been able to edit assignments across all of the classes. You would have to go into each class individually and correct whatever it is that you wanted. So it is faster to post in all of the classes at once, but you need to triple, quadruple, septuple check to make sure that there's no typos, that you're attaching the correct thing, because then you have to go in individually and correct the mistakes.
Okay. This is a good question. I've had this a lot. Is there any way to import grades from Google Classroom into Skyward? I remember at the beginning of the school year, there was a beta version of this, but it hasn't rolled out that I know of. What do you know about Google Classroom and Skyward?
So you were correct. There was a beta version that they are in the process of testing. That would have had to have been activated at a district level, and it was not for us. So teachers don't get to go in and do it, one by one. Right now, the only way to transfer grades from Google Classroom to Skyward is to download one assignment as a CSV and then upload that assignment into Skyward using the CSV. So I actually have a click sheet and a video that I can send out with the link for those of you that are interested in doing that. If you, the front loading on that process is kind of convoluted because you have to type in every kid's name exactly as it appears in Skyward and then have the column set perfectly. But once you have your template set up, you can just use the same CSV and copy and paste the grades and then upload it, and it'll do all 35 grades at once as opposed to hand keying them in.
Okay. The next question is, how can the students see my comments on the quiz form? Do they receive an email?
So on the quiz, when you, like here, when I gave them feedback comments, when they get right or wrong, it will automatically pop up for them. So if you click April for today's month, and that is the correct answer, it's going to know it's the correct answer, and then you get that feedback right away. It's not going to send a separate email for them.
Okay. And then somebody's asking again that understanding that Google Classroom, that we cannot send emails out of Google Classroom. So it'll send notifications when you post something in the stream. It'll send notifications when you post an assignment, but because Google Classroom works with Google Mail or Gmail, and our emails are from Outlook, it doesn't work.
Yeah, correct. You have to have a Gmail account to directly email students. Like Gina said, if the students have their notifications turned on, then they will get an email generated from Google Classroom that says, Miss Wesley Hosier posted a new assignment. But they will not get any communication you try and send to them. In fact, if you click on it, it will pop up and say, you don't have access to this.
Okay, so as far as I can tell, that is all on our back channel. Let me look at our chat. So you have to return great question answered. That makes sense. Also, when you set up a question, there's a toggle for you to select if you want students to see each other's answers. Okay.
Yes.
So this is, I think that's all the questions. Does anybody else have any more questions? You can type them in the chat.
Anything that hasn't been answered, any lingering knowledge you just have to know? Okay. With the Guardian feature, do they have linked to the account to view that? Do they have to be linked? Is that what you mean? Yes. Okay. So, like I said, the students can invite guardians. You can invite guardians. You can do that with any email address. It doesn't have to be a Gmail. Once you invite them, they'll get the same kind of notifications that the student will, and they'll get the guardian summaries that you send out. Is there a way to line break in a question? To do multiple questions, you mean? So if I'm typing a question, it's going to give me the option to just type the question. Now I can number them within the instructions and say, you know, like answer the questions below. And then within my instructions, I can type in 1 day, 2 months, but the students would have to answer all of them at the same time. So they would have to type in one and then their answer. So that's just something you would kind of have to teach them how to do, or you can set it as a multiple choice question. It's up to you. But if you do multiple choice, you're just going to get one set of multiple choices. You can't do like multiple choice questions.
Did you answer Mr. Anderson? It says, is there a way to put a line break in a question?
That's what I just did. There's no way to do that. Like you can put multiple questions in the instructions, but you can't ask multiple questions without doing a new post every time.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Zink. Yes, you can email your entire class from Skyward. Okay, you got that. And then clarify my question about the trending. Miss Amy, okay, if I want to see who has viewed a document but not edited the same document, do we tell them to make a copy and select student can view? You can't tell as a teacher if the students have just looked at it or not. If it's something you want them to like annotate directly on or type on, I would recommend making their own copy for them. And just make sure if they're doing it mobily, either on an iPad or a phone, that they have the app downloaded. So if you send them a Google Doc, make sure you have the Google Docs app downloaded. If you send them a slide, make sure they have the Slides app downloaded, just because it makes for easier editing on the mobile device instead of trying to do it through the web-based version. How will we access the video? We'll email you the link. After the second teacher in the classroom, I wanted to put an opt-out of receiving emails. Yes, Miss Ballard, you can opt out. So you need to go to your Google Classroom settings. So that would be like out of. So classes, and then you go to your settings and you can determine which classes and notifications you want to receive. So if you don't want student notifications, you don't have to turn those on. If you just want assignment notifications, you can do whatever you want within your settings. Okay, any other questions? No. Okay, then I think we are good to go. I'm gonna leave this up on the screen. If you didn't sign in at the beginning, please make sure that you've signed in now. And then if you have any other questions within the back chat,